I've talked to them, the Korean commentators, other coaches, other players saying probably going to be a 1-1.
Yeah, it does seem like the most likely option. The talent, now that SKTK is no longer dominating, Ozone, I think, a little bit, maybe half a step above, in front of the rest right now, but beyond Ozone, it's actually really difficult to say who could definitively beat whom in like spots 2 through 8.
Yeah, it's just a kind of mix of a nice group of teams that are very good, but you have to kind of group them up as that tier of teams. And we went through bans very quick, actually. Both teams coming in well prepared. Twitch, of course, being banned out. Evelyn banned out, but leaves the Lee Sin open, so they're going to get it for Helios.
Okay, so Twitch actually banned against Prey right here. No surprise. Evelyn against Helios. That has been his go-to jungler. And Lulu against Nagne. Now, the Gragas is still up, and Samsung Blue not going to take that. That's not really in Dade's champion pool. And interestingly, Ryze, of course. We talked about Limit not really preferring that champion. Yasuo and Kha'Zix taken out. So Spirit, much more of a Kha'Zix player than Helios, and Helios will get one of his top 2 picks. Overwhelming number of games on Elise and Lee Sin this season. And Thresh and Ziggs may be the pickups here.
I mean, yeah, with Lulu banned out, Ziggs, of course, still has probably the best ranged farming and pushing power in mid right now.
Of course, yeah, Dade Ziggs, too, has been a real threat.
Yes.
We typically see that banned out, which is why we didn't see a ton of Ziggs games for Dade. It's been almost a universal ban against him. Now, Nagne, see if he goes for more of a comfort pick here. Prey on Lucian would be changing things up, but they probably want Lucian Annie, and they're saving the Annie pick until later in the draft. Going to go ahead and pick up Limit, potentially that Renekton, but we said Limit a more passive laner, and he hasn't played a lot of Renekton so far in this season, really sticking to the Mundo and Shyvana pickups. So I think only 1 game between Masters and Champions on Renekton. Much more of an acorn grab, but with the Ryze ban, the counter pick won't be there, and we'll have to see how exactly Samsung Blue wants to respond.
I have to say, I think that was Sword's plan. Also, Renekton just usually banned out by many teams these days, so if they ban the Ryze and Renekton doesn't get banned by Blue because they expect Limit to go tanky, why not pick that up? Of course, Lee Sin was left open, and I think this shows that Helios still doesn't have the biggest champion pool where they prioritize that so hard. But they pick it up, they also get the Renekton, so I think Black Sword should be happy. I'm sure they know Limit much better than we do. And on the blue side, they will still go for that Elise and then the Shen in that top lane against Renekton.
Yeah, the KT team's really starting to pick up Shen as a Renekton counter pick because it is easy to get him through the early laning phase, even against a bully like Renekton. So he's just a big threat after that and gets tankier and definitely outscales Renekton with all that CC in the late game. Now, Nagne will be taking the LeBlanc into the Ziggs matchup, so unfortunately, for me at least, I love watching his Gragas. I think he's one of the best Gragas players in the world, so we won't be seeing that tonight. And Kane not going for Annie, Leona, and Lucian.
I like the Leona pick just because, well, not only is Leona tankier, and that could do well. Of course, Renekton not a pure tank, Lee Sin also not a pure tank. But if you're going to try to initiate with Lee Sin, if you get a kick of a single target, you don't want to use that AoE stun as Annie. So might as well go for the shield bash with Leona, and then jump in with Solar Flare to zone them out. So, liking Swords picks, what are we gonna see for the AD carry on for Deft?
I think Ezreal is much more likely than Kog'Maw.
Yes.
I wouldn't want to play Kog'Maw into LeBlanc, Leona.
Yeah, that'd be kind of risky. Yeah, there we go. Ezreal going to be that pickup for Blue.
Of course, Deft kind of hailed as the Ezreal master here in Korea. Again, he is #1 in the Challenger rankings right now. He always hovers in the top 10, but been playing a lot of solo queue recently, so he'll be pulling out that Ezreal. Now, last time we saw him on Ezreal, he built Blade of the Ruined King first into Trinity Force, which is a bit different.
And that's become a bit more common ever since we saw it in that matchup. So we'll see, or in that match rather. So we'll see if he goes for that build again. Of course, there are people who can stick to him, such as Leona and Renekton. It will be very nice. Also Lee Sin. So to have that disengage on the Blade active will be helpful for Ezreal. There's the mid matchup. Dade going for the Flash Ghost summoners that he's been favoring on Ziggs.
He's the only one who does this.
I know, but he makes it work.
He does make it work.
I love it.
Yeah, his mobility. He's very confident in his escapability, and also he's just really good at using those summoners to clear out side lanes as well. If he has to use that Ghost just to get some wave control, he'll go ahead and do it.
Yeah, so very aware of how to use Ghost in the current meta. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, very important match for Samsung Blue and Najin Black Sword. Can either team get the 2-0, or will they go into a 3-way tie as we prepare for set 1 between these two teams in Group C? Let's go into Game 1.
KT가 2대0으로 승리를 거두면서 8강 진출이 이렇게 됐습니다.
Stand up. Stand up.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is set 1 for the last match of Group C between Najin Black Sword and Samsung Blue. The Najin fans are here in full force. Of course, they also get to see Shield tonight, so it's Najin night for the fans. But quite a few Samsung fans in the audience at the same time, and there's the caster Jun, looking very handsome. Poster there.
Wow. I'll have to have him do that pose for me later.
Yeah, that's actually great. And Dev's just going to find Prey here in the tri-rush at bottom. Just going to chase him out. Now, will we see a lane swap? Doesn't look like it. I think both teams just fine with the standard lanes.
Nobody really has an advantage in these lanes. You've got 2 short-range supports, 2 more poke-oriented ranged AD carries, so not a lot of danger. Just should be a pretty safe farm lane. We'll have to see, you know, Najin Black Sword, they've got much more of an early game pick composition right here. They've got the Leona, Lee Sin, LeBlanc to create those picks in the early and mid game, but they will have a bit of trouble. I mean, the split pushing, they're not going to have a great answer for that if this goes late. And Samsung Blue will also be able to turtle this out very effectively. They have nice wave clear from Elise and Ziggs.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see these picks because we talked a lot about Blue going for those wombo combos, and they still have decent team fight with the AoE ultimates.
But this is a very different kind of team composition. You're absolutely right, Joe, that we're seeing from them tonight. But comfort picks all the same. We just haven't seen Acorn's Shen yet, or we haven't seen it in a while, I should say. Of course, back when he was known as Chunju, we saw some of his Shen play, but it's not something that he's been really using recently.
Yep, meanwhile, on the Black Sword side, of course, lots of early aggression, as you said, and Helios, we'll see if he goes for aggressive ganks here in the bottom lane. Again, Black Sword is all about buffing up that Prey AD carry. They kind of let Nagne fend for himself, and he does very well in that. Also, mid lane these days have been the quiet lane. We've returned to that party in the bottom meta of Korean League of Legends.
Well, yeah, it depends. You can see a lot of the 2v1s here still, but this game is just safe, so why not go for it?
And Prey just shoving up bottom actually against Deft and Hard. Meanwhile, both junglers just going to take their time and secure both buffs. We'll see where both of them go. Are they just going to keep farming because all the lanes are somewhat safe? Helios looking for some action.
Well, the danger of taking those double mobility summoners is that against a high burst champion like LeBlanc, you may not be able to get out if your flash is down and your ghost is up. If those chains get on you, you may not be able to break the tether in time.
Oh, and a little dance around the wolves between Spirit and Helios.
Helios is on the hunt right now, but they're just going to play Ring Around the Rosie in the jungle and not find each other. Well, this is fun.
This is actually pretty entertaining that they continue to circle around the blue buff and the wolves. And Helios, I don't think was spotted by that ward, and there's the chains onto Dade. Dade does not jump out yet. He thought he was safe, but is that going to lead to first blood? Yes! Naone picks it up. Dade actually trying to use Ghost to run away. Thought there wasn't a gank coming in. Got a little bit too comfortable.
And that's kind of the danger of having these two mobility summoners too, because if you misjudge a circumstance like that, you can also use the wrong summoner or end up using both of your summoners in order to escape. But Dade not able to get out of that one, and Nagne padding his already very high KDA in this tournament with an early kill and a fast chalice. So Dade going to have a hard time in this lane now.
Yeah, Dade just got caught off guard with that gank. It's going to be rough. He has to just go for an extra Doran's Ring for safety, especially with that Ghost down. He only has Flash to rely on, doesn't have Ignite to try to out-pressure Nagne. Nagne, meanwhile, picks up an early chalice. Meanwhile, we see Deft getting caught. He actually blinks away from the Lantern, but still able to click on it. As Helios comes in, he gets the Lantern jump, but is there damage? No, Hart blocks the Shockwave and then pulls him back in, forces a Flash out of Lee Sin. Good play from Hart.
Yeah, they burn both flashes in the lane, however, in exchange for, well, 2 flashes as well. Kane had to flash in order to make that play. But we'll see if they actually get forced out of lane here, and they will, of course. Deft going back, picks up the Vamp Scepter, and they do see, of course, Spirit in that lane, the ward that Helios put down. Helios getting a couple of very successful ganks off early on.
Yeah, you know, blowing his flash for both flashes down in the bottom lane, a success for him, and Prey still has his summoners up, so Kane and Prey should be able to make another play if they feel the need to do so. Not a huge difference in items, though. They both actually have the same amount of CS when they went to shop, so we're also going to see that Vamp Scepter on Prey.
But this is what Najin Blacksword needs to do. They have to get some sort of early edge here. They need to go into the late game if we get there with a 5K or so gold advantage, just because they don't scale quite as well into the late game. So it's okay for Samsung Blue to be down a kill right now. It's not the end of the world that Dade died. Of course, Zig's still able to turtle for an extended period of time if necessary, and also one of those champions that just does an immense amount of damage in team fights.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Monty, Ziggs is there for that map control and just team fight zoning control. The only worry might be, of course, the one who got the kill is a LeBlanc. So yeah. Ziggs dying is not the issue here, but how will Nagne manage that snowball? Will he be able to get a chance to roam around and pick up more kills? We'll see as we see Spirit coming around for a gank. He was spotted, but gets the Cocoon onto Limit, but no dice. And Spirit also not going to be able to falter. Helios looking for another gank here. Flash is still up for Dade. Is he still going to get comfortable? Yeah, he still gets snared, and there we go. Here we go with the Stand United coming in from Shen. Dade runs out of mana, but gets saved with the Stand United, and Limit going to take that chance to push up against top lane.
Yeah, Spirit, however, is coming up here. This may prompt an all-in from the Najin Blacksword duo lane, but Kane decides better and won't go up there, even though he's got full eyes on the jungler. That forces Acorn to recall, so Dade...
There we go with the fight. Deft just going to blink away, and Flay bringing Kane back in. He's going to take unnecessary damage as he tries to run away.
You'll notice, too, that when they saw the top lane, Helios just got some deep wards in on the blue side and managed to turn it into a blue steal as well. So that Stand United really hurting Samsung Blue. Shen now at a level in CS deficit when he was even with Renekton before. So Dade really needs to be careful in that mid lane that he doesn't bring down his other lanes in the process.
Yeah, just trying to not give any more kills to Nagne. And Helios, we talked about how well he's been doing, but he's already showing his dominance once again in this jungle. Gets those wards, gets those successful ganks, and manages to turn them around. Just going to give this to Nagne too. Helios needs to watch out. Yeah, he'll be okay. Nagne just going to use his skills there to pick up another blue.
Yeah, gotta be careful, but Helios will be able to make it out okay. Fortunately for him, Spirit was not around.
That would have been scary.
Yeah, so they know that, they seem to know that Spirit over at his red buff right now. They've got that blue side of the jungle warded up, and of course know that first timer on the red buff approximately as well. So Ray and Kane just continuing to push up here, but everything very even, as expected in this duo lane situation.
Yeah, neither team really getting a huge lead. Deft and Hart are looking very aggressive. Stand United is not up though, so Kane and Prey didn't have to worry about a surprise 3v2. Spirit also shown in that top lane. Limit just going to back off. Spirit just going to walk over and try to see if he can get some damage onto Limit. Gets a little bit. Limit just going to take that chance to go back home. He hasn't bought yet, so he'll return. Will we see an aggressive build, or is he also just going to go for that Giant's Belt? He will go for the Tiamat.
Interesting. Okay.
Very not Limit-like.
This is very not Limit-like at all. But Acorn has that Giant's Belt. If he has to stand United into an early engagement right there, it's just more multi-purpose, especially since LeBlanc had that early kill. If he just picked up armor, may have been a little bit problematic. And also, he just needs to get that Sunfire Cape as soon as possible so that he has some pushing power.
Yeah, especially with the Tiamat now coming in from Limit. Helios, he's been livid in the blue buff side against Samsung Blue. Spirit really hasn't had much of a chance to come in. Spirit's going to get seen by this ward that Helios just refreshed. Helios has had 100% vision of this area since the beginning of the game.
He's been doing a spectacular job. And part of that, too, has been the fact that Spirit has shown so many times in the top lane that he knows it's very safe for him to go in by himself, throw those wards down around the blue buff, and just maintain that control. And so his dual lane constantly in the know about where the enemy jungler is, and that's allowing them to push up aggressively and to feel very confident in their lane.
Yeah, again, we talked about that focus for Prey for Black Sword, and we're seeing that in terms of vision this time. Not as many ganks in bottom, but it's a hard lane to gank anyway, so might as well allow Lucian and Leona to just get the lane advantage by pushing up, getting earlier levels, some more farm. We have Spirit prepared. There's the Lantern. Not yet, not prepared for Spirit to jump over, and the lane's pushing up, so Heart going to just wait. Spirit knocking around. And Nagne also went for the early lanes, or lens rather, excuse me. They've been clearing out those wards towards bottom side, really keeping Blue blind.
Yeah, Nagne getting the early lens is just great for a LeBlanc in general. We see that from a lot of LeBlancs here in Korea. Just being able to set up the picks early, and Acorn.
Acorn already used his dash, so he has to blow a flash to get out, but Blue going to respond with a Dragon. LeBlanc is far, there is no teleport on Limit, and we don't see Helios yet. He's going to show himself in mid. That should be a free Dragon. Prey going for a steal, doesn't get it, thanks to the good smite from Spirit.
And great response there by Blue. They also clear out the wave. Limit would take some damage, but Dade may be a little bit late on that one.
Yeah, the tower goes down still in top lane, so good responses from both teams. You know, just, once again, we've been seeing this a lot more from teams where one event just chains to another from the opposing, and back and forth, ping-ponging and reactions.
Oh, this has now become pretty basic macro play at the professional level. If you can't do this, you're going to lose to a team that can, because they will always be able to take advantage of your map movements in the early game.
And ping's going down for the blue buff, of course. Najin has that timer because Helios saw it with a ward. It's going to take a little bit more time. Spotting the ward by Spirit also in their own blue buff.
Well, Acorn's a pretty big threat right now. They didn't really push this lane forward. Shen doesn't have the Sunfire, so he's going to be pushing very slowly. And the question is, where does Limit go now? He's coming back to lane with a ward, and so he will be able to put it down pretty deep in the lane if he needs to, but this is a great position for Acorn. He's able to freely ultimate if he so chooses. And he's really not that far behind in terms of CS. He caught right back up again. And Limit actually going for the Megatron Cloak, concerned about the magic damage coming out of Shen, but this is not going to make Renekton very helpful in terms of early team fighting. He is really dedicated to split pushing against the Shen and keeping him as far down as he can and prevent him from ulting here in the early game.
Prey trying to force Deft out of lane with that culling, doesn't really find much success as Heart blocks many of those shots. And yeah, that Negatron, good against, of course, Elise and maybe even some roam wave clear from Dade, but like you said, still doesn't have much health. There's the flash flay onto Prey. Prey going to flash, but he still gets caught by the Death Sentence. Box comes in, Deft going for the kill. He will get that last hit. A Solar Flare comes in a bit late. Kane going for the kill, but Stand United here to make sure they don't give unnecessary kills. There's a taunt onto Leona, and another kill for Samsung Blue. Spirit picking that second one up.
Yeah, really nicely done in terms of Thresh play right there. From Heart, just catching Prey after the flash.
Wow.
In order to secure that kill, and Kane, I think he could come there, but that's the thing. You know, we haven't seen a lot of Shen play in a while, Chobra, and teams forget about that ultimate a lot of the time and how easy it is to secure kills. So Samsung Blue gonna jump out to a lead. So Prey uses his dash right there. Heart with the flash flay, knowing he can secure this one. And Prey choosing the wrong way to flash. Deft right there to finish off the kill, and he doesn't get stunned by the solar flare either. Kane just gets hit by another good play from Hart, and then everybody coming in with the CC.
Yeah, Samsung fans very excited about that fight. Well played by everyone on the blue team. On the Samsung blue team, not the team that's on the blue side. These team names, man, and Spirit actually has to use his flash to run away from Nagne's LeBlanc. With that finished Athene's Unholy Grail, it is pretty strong, has a lot of cooldowns right now with the blue buff. And Kane now needs to be a little bit more careful. We do have Hart with some more health, but the Sight Stone on Kane is going to help him out.
So actually, Def starting with Bloodthirster this game, so varying up his build that we saw last time with the Blade of the Ruined King. I think if you can get that early Bloodthirster, if you're doing okay in lane, it's just such a stable item. You get those early stacks.
Yeah.
Before people get a lot of HP, you're going to be dealing more damage with that Bloodthirster anyway, because it's not based on % health. So I think it's just, and of course it's also just a lot more damage in terms of Mystic Shot as well.
Yeah, and I think this was also come about, as you said, Monty, because of the build from Limit. Limit didn't go for the extra health, just went for a Neutron Cloak. Might as well get that flat AD for Ezreal in case they go into a 5v5. Najin Black Sword trying to respond by shoving in mid lane, but so much wave clear from the blue side. We saw the Ziggs ultimate earlier, now the True Shot Barrage along with Ziggs' normal skills to keep the mid lane safe as Deft continues to farm. He's slowly inching ahead in terms of CS and gold thanks to the kill and assist to pad his stats against Prey's Lucian.
Yeah, Nagne has to get out of there, avoid the minefield and the bouncing bomb from Dade.
Prey finishes his Bloodthirster right after, so he'll start stacking that up when Deft shoves the lane down this bottom side of the map. Helios looking to see if he can get any more picks, and ever since those first couple of ganks, Helios has not found a window, especially with Hart and Deft just winning a pure 2v2 against Prey and Kane.
Kane coming in there, uses that shield to go ahead and take out the cannon minions, so Prey will catch up in CS right here though. Very large wave to help him close that gap.
Also probably going to be equal in stacks after he pushes up. Spirit now looking for a flank here in mid lane. Just gets deeper wards himself. Now the ward war is shifting in favor of Samsung Blue. The mid tower for Black Sword still has pretty good health, so it's going to take them a little bit to clear it out. Prey may have to use his culling if they want to be safe to clear the wave here.
The issue with Najin Black Sword right now is the way that Elise and Shen have itemized. If we can see how tanky Spirit has gone compared to the damage built by Helios. But the issue is Najin Black Sword is all based around burst right now. And yeah, two members, Acorn and Spirit, are extremely tanky right now. Samsung Blue knows if they can survive the burst from Najin Black Shield, they should be able to close out in terms of sustained damage from Ziggs. So this is a bit dangerous, and I have to say the itemization coming in here from Spirit in particular, and choosing to build this tanky way on Elise is going to be quite good for them in this game.
Yeah, he's just gone full tank so far. Giant Spelled after the Ancient Golem. And we're looking at Dade with that blue buff on top of the Athenes. His mana has just been staying at the same point, although he's been throwing bouncing bombs every time they come off of cooldown. So the sustained damage is there. Of course, Deft also has the Bloodthirster. He's slightly ahead of Prey in terms of experience. They're starting a duel.
Yeah, this is definitely the right call from Najin Black Sword, though. Give up the dragon. You've got this Renekton that is only built to split push against Shen, so you're going to have to send him back up there. You might as well shove him in and get that control over the top. And maybe you can get some wards down the top side jungle. Nagne.
All right, Nagne's going to try to jump over the wall. There we go. He actually just jumps back to the Tri-Brush. Has to use a flash to dodge the cocoon. Spirit and Hart using that Lantern perhaps prematurely to set up the gank there.
I don't think Nagne had to use that flash. He was scared, but it was only the very tanky jungle and a support, and his team could have rotated down. They didn't have a lot of damage to actually finish him off. So maybe a little bit preemptive use.
Meanwhile, red buff steal comes in from Helios to try to stop Spirit or even Deft from getting that buff We saw Dade going for some harass and steal with his ultimate. Doesn't succeed, but we saw how much damage it did to both Helios and Kane, actually.
Yeah, that's Najin Sword's answer to the dragon right there. Just push up, get control of the red side jungle. They really need to get some good wards up there because, again, this composition is going to have to make picks. They're all about that burst damage, but as we head kind of into the late mid-game here, when we think about team fighting, Samsung Blue is going to have a pretty massive edge, not only in terms of that team fighting, but eventually in terms of the split pushing as well. Of course, Renekton will be able to win the split push at the present time, but that won't always be true as Shen moves into the 30-minute range or so.
And True Shot Barrage trying to shove people out of mid lane here from Deft. Doesn't find a target, but Samsung Blue is all grouped up, and Shen is free to ult. Hart takes a huge burst from Nagne, who now has that measly large rod, so they need to watch out for LeBlanc's burst. Even if you don't die, you don't want to get shoved out in this 4v4. You don't want to have to use that Stand United without going for a team fight. Limit back in top lane, but Acorn going to go home. And so Stand United will still be up for free use. Should Samsung Blue want to 5v5, or 5v4 rather.
Here comes the invade up to the top side. Dade will be able to get that blue buff in the nick of time, so huge pickup for him. No mana left, so they're going to keep turtling this one out. That's going to be critical. Very low kill, but just a back and forth objective style game here.
Yeah.
Our two teams, but Najin Blacksword, this is not how this game should have gone for them, and they need to be very active about creating picks right now. Both teams with 4 lenses, so obsessed with denying that vision.
Ooh, Helios taking a lot of poke, and Najin Blacksword actually got zoned out of their own tower, has to walk around the long way. This gives Samsung Blue a chance to push with a minion wave, a cannon wave at that against this tier 1 in mid. No one really here to defend right away. Prey also has to walk around the back. There's the culling just to shove it out, but this may go down the next time. Deft tries to jump away, also flashes away from the Solar Flare. Kane takes a ton of damage. True Sharp Rush comes in. There's the bomb. Kane with a quick flash at the very end to survive, but this may mean the tower goes down. Hart takes a burst from Nagne. Nagne, is he going to look for a target? Limit just trying to duel Acorn, but has to blow Dominus, and Acorn's okay with that. Acorn doesn't want to sit there and fight. Just take away Renekton's ultimate, and you still have Stand United.
Limit really winning out right there because he prevented Acorn from ulting. So he didn't stop it, but there was no way Acorn was going to be able to ult. You have to all in a Shen like that with your Renekton ultimate under a tower just to make sure you have him on lockdown, and he's not going to be able to join the rest of his team. But Samsung Blue playing that out pretty well. Deft
Deft takes a huge chunk of damage, doesn't have the mana yet. There's the Stand United and the barrier. A massive shield coming in. Spirit trying to get a kill onto Helios. They won't find the target, but that shield was pretty much all of Deft's health restored.
Acorn had his Stand United canceled, so that's a bug.
And Limit just gonna not be disturbed by the Baron. Acorn decides to walk away. Nagne gets caught by Hart, and there's the Lantern coming in. Nagne blinks over the wall, but there's a repel again. Can Kane come in time? Yes, he doesn't find the target onto Spirit, but the bomb will pick up the kill against Nagne's LeBlanc. Good shot by Dade.
Yeah, this is why his Ziggs play is so good. Yes, he had some trouble in the early laning phase, but he's really making it work right now, using his ult very well, disengaging very well alongside of his team.
And top lane still somewhat of the quieter lane. Kane's just taking so much damage, doesn't really have a lot of defense items yet. The bottom tier 1 eventually, or the mid tier 1 eventually goes down against Najin Sword as Blue shoves it up against the 2 tankier members of Sword, and Limit and Acorn just dueling to the death here. And Acorn's not taking a lot of damage thanks to the Sunfire Cave.
No, we're really at a tipping point right here where Acorn is actually going to start winning these duels very shortly. Renekton simply won't have enough damage to deal with him. So, bit of a dangerous situation here for Limit. He's running out of time to make plays against this Shen.
Yeah, he does have a level advantage, so he's relying on that to shove Acorn up. But if you can't get a kill or send him back home to take a tower, Acorn will happily just farm back up and wait, 5-10 extra minutes. Helios has that Sightstone now for those extra wards. Gonna help with the vision and, of course, ward jumping for Lee Sin. Limit wants to clear the pink ward out. I think Deft will leave him alone.
Wow, Spirit is just so tanky right now. Spirit Visage and now building into a Randuin's. So pure tank jungle Elise. And this is really scary for Najin Blacksword because who does Nagne blow up right now? I mean, Heart, he's gonna be peeling for Deft in the back line. Deft able to just jump out of the situation himself. And there is a little bit of MR in that Chalice. There we go, clearing out that wave. Could have been a little bit better aimed right there.
Yeah, Nagne, will he still finish it off? Yeah, he's just going to go for that last hit. Take the bottom tier 1. Meanwhile, Acorn is pushing freely now against Limit in this top lane. And like you said, Monty, Limit starting to hit that point where he doesn't have an answer. Heart zooming around with those mobility boots to look for a pick, shoving people out, pressuring them from the jungle, and taking advantage of the vision control they have to steal the blue away from Nagne.
And they've been doing a great job of keeping blue onto Ziggs this game. It's one of the critical things for Ziggs and Nidalee players is, are you going to be able to get that blue buff that you so desperately need to get the most out of your champion's potential to siege and play turret defense as well? They're getting them all, and Dade quite happy right now with that. So and now they're trying to set up picks. The Najin Blacksword should have been doing this a while ago.
Yeah, they had the vision control earlier too. They're missing out on it a little bit now. Blue much more aware of their warding. Nagne gets seen by the ward, and Dade responding promptly with a bouncing bomb. Trisha Barrage just to shove them away, and Dev's also been really good about using his ultimate just to pressure people away, so as to zone. And Nagne is not able to jump over the wall there to check for the blue.
Yeah, Spirit just uses the smite, secures it, doesn't want it going over, and Dade just got one as well, so it's not going to be the end of the world if he doesn't get the next blue also.
Yes, and Black Sword still not able to really make any plays as a team. Limit gets slowed by the red buff. Deft is going to keep chasing through. He doesn't have that much mana, so he's not going to pursue to the end of the world, but Limit does get shoved away by this Ezreal. We talked about how he didn't prioritize that armor. Still doesn't have any armor items, actually, just the Giant's Belt.
This is really bad, actually. And this is what we were talking about. Limit, not really a Renekton player, and he's built for his split pushing, but he hasn't really done a great job of stopping Acorn from ulting either. Acorn has canceled his own ultimate accidentally due to the bug where if you spam abilities while you're Shen ulting, sometimes you don't actually port. But he just hasn't really been that big of a factor. The tier 2 tower is still up. And he lost his tier 1 at this point as well. And he's just not going to scale well into the late game. Meanwhile, Shen getting close to his Warden's Veil, getting closer to that Randuin's Omen.
I wonder if Limit didn't hear that Marin lost his games yesterday because he's picking up builds from Marin's Renekton right now. Not going very well for the guy.
Well, he and Marin have a very different style of playing Renekton.
They indeed do. Marin, of course, very aggressive. And Marin at least goes for those 1v1 duels a lot earlier. Limit, we saw he was a bit hesitant to commit to duels against Shen, and he's lost his timing window now. Kayn also not having opportunities to make plays for Prey. Kayn and Prey have been very quiet throughout the game. Of course, earlier was just a 2v2, but then they lost a 2v2 fight. And then ever since, they've just been quietly trying to farm up and keep the lane stabilized. Kayn gets hooked. Are they going to go in? Cocoon hits. There's the statue charge to keep him up against the wall, but Kayn now has some more defense items, so they decide he's not as squishy as before, doesn't want to try to go for that kill. And Samsung Blue promptly rotates all the way to the top lane. Heart going deep to make sure no one comes in for a flank.
Oh, look at that. Acorn just shoving the wave mercilessly right now. We're pretty much in the Shen sweet spot. And it's only going to get worse as the game goes on. So, trying to get some damage down onto the top lane tier 2 tower. Nagne will clear out a wave. And look at that. True Shot Barrage just used to push it up. Get some damage down onto limited Prey. See how dedicated they are to actually taking out this turret.
And Helios trying to find a kick from the side. His team can hold it for now, but look at this wave at bottom. A decent-sized wave, and they had a cannon minion for a couple hits. So Black Sword has to start getting worried about their lane pressure. There's a culling onto Dottie. Dottie takes a lot of hits. He jumps onto Lantern. There's a dice box coming in from Heart, and the bomb will not hit anyone. Kayn trying to escape. As he runs away, Dottie eventually goes down to Dominus on Limit, but Limit trying to survive with the Crucible heal doesn't get it. Nagne also very low, has to blink out. Kayn just doing what he can to give kills onto Prey as Acorn takes out Leona. Prey has to run away. Helios kicks Deft in for the kill, and they get it for Prey. Prey gets Cocoon. Triple kill for Spirit. What a tanky spider, and that is a 4-for-2 trade in favor of Samsung Blue.
And that's the issue with this composition, is it's just past its power spike. They didn't get enough gold early on. And the scaling from Samsung Blue coming into play here. And there's the tankiness is just too much. Too much burst, not enough sustained damage on Najin Blacksword right now. And that Shen and that ultra tanky Elise are just really not going to go down. So if we look right here, Dade eating a lot of that culling will, of course, take the Lantern back into the safety of the box. Good kiting. And a couple flashes out from the Solar Flare right there. Dade still a little bit on the run, does get a nice minefield down before he dies right there, and then they just turn around and lock everybody up. You see the Repel coming down. Spirit flashes over the wall to go hunt down Nagne, and Deft gets kicked forward. Prey will finish him with a quick combo, but then the taunt, Cocoon, a little bit too much.
That was a good kick by Helios, though. Got the kill for Prey.
Oh, they just killed Kane.
Oh, wow. Well, he's gone. And, you know, props to Prey and Helios. They played what they could from that fight. Prey especially keeping himself zoned the entire time. But in the end, that tankiness, like you mentioned, Monty, Spirit just surviving so long enough to pick up a triple kill. That's how long he lived. And Deft takes a lot of damage from Limit. Limit did go for the aggressive build earlier on, and he's body blocking Deft away from that wall, trying to get the sweet spot of not getting the arcane shift, and Acorn comes in for the save. There's a culling. The Limit House pick up the kill as Prey picks up an assist, and there's a Lantern onto Dade. Nice box will keep Helios zoned out, so Helios going to run away.
Yeah, pretty big mistake from Samsung Blue. They need to stay as a unit right now, just because that's the power of the Najin Blacksword comp, is in these picks where they can burst down a single target.
Oh, Helios, can he go for the steal? No. Of course, Spirit way too healthy right now. Helios doesn't want to risk getting caught by a Cocoon.
But Najin Blacksword has a long way to go to come into this game. The gold difference not really telling the story of the difference in scaling here. And 6K is a lot with the difference in scaling between these compositions. Samsung Blue has a tremendous lead.
Yes, they do. Now, Prey has a double buff.
I love Dade. Distortion enchantment now. Needs that flash and Ghost up all the time to dance around the team fights.
I mean, he's been doing very well with it. Earlier, we saw him actually walk forward to place that minefield. Also, he had that Stand United on him, surviving a lot longer. And we've seen him in other games where he uses that Ghost to run around faster around the edge to make sure he gets full damage from, you know, double, triple rotations of his skills.
Now it's about that Baron control, though. Although Samsung, they really don't want to take Baron. If they can bait it, it's going to be okay. They just want to keep eyes on it to make sure Najin Blacksword doesn't sneak it. They just need to stick to their siege, what they're good at. The siege and the split push with Shen. 4-1 splitting right now. Falls into their composition. They don't want to get caught in the pit where one of them could quickly be eliminated with all that MR shred from the Baron with this very dangerous LeBlanc on the enemy team.
Uh-oh, Limit is going to get caught on a 3v1 gank as Hart comes in, zooming in with the speed buff, and will he get the hook? He's not going to go for it. He's just going to wait, goes for the Lantern, and then the play and the box to secure a kill against a tanky member of Najin Blacksword. Deft picks it up with the Arcane Shift into basic attack. Blacksword trying to respond with a tower in mid, but they don't have the pushing power. And Acorn also shoving in this bottom lane. What a play by Samsung Blue across the map.
There's a culling trying to eliminate the minion wave. Prey and Acorn, although there's the Stand United onto Spirit. They're just going to get out, I guess.
Yeah, actually not onto Dade, who gets blown up by Nagne. A crucial mistake by Acorn.
That is a big mistake. Well, for both players, really. Dade in an unfortunate position against this LeBlanc. And the team, again, not sticking together. So Samsung Blue is providing opportunities for Najin Blacksword to get back into this game. And Acorn, man, I think he just misclicked. Spirit and Dade very close together on the icon, on the sidebar.
Yeah, or going for those function keys, of course, could also work. So either way, seems to have been a slight misclick. Acorn going to get initiated on by Kane, but he's a super tank, so Kane will be happy to let him go. And Dade will revive in a couple seconds. He still has both summoners up. Let's see what happened here. Dade actually getting caught. I wonder if Acorn was just trying to escape.
He was trying to escape.
Dade just got caught by Nagne. Yes. So Dade walking straight into a LeBlanc at point-blank range. Usually not where you want to be.
Such a Dade thing to do.
It is a very Dade thing to do. is winning game. Has to throw at least once. But he'll bring it back. We know he will because he's been playing Ziggs very well. We'll see if he continues to show that strong play, though, to close out the game, or if Black Sword will find more opportunities and force Blue to make these mistakes more often.
Bit surprising to me that Acorn decided to go for the instead of the Banshee's Veil, going for, oh my god, the Kindle Gem. I just spaced on the name. Spirit Visage this game. Just because against that LeBlanc, when you are concerned about the burst, it's great to be able to take out one of those abilities immediately, and it's just a little bit more efficient right now. Of course, he'll have a little slightly more split pushing power with the cooldown reduction, and Shen does have a small heal, but I think overall getting that Veil first would probably have been a better call. There we go.
Deft with a nice clear in top lane with his two-shot barrage. And
it's so hard for Najin Blacksword to push in between the wave-clearing globals of Ezreal and Ziggs.
Yeah, Nagne doing what he can to find those picks, but the only one he can really finish so far we've seen is Dade.
Well, and they could just alternate ulting the side lane too, as long as Ezreal and Ziggs stay together. There we go.
Yeah, here
just
comes
like this.
The Mega Inferno Bomb. Trey actually takes the hit, so he has to be careful. Heart's coming down there, and so is Spirit. Helios almost in threat of a cocoon hitting him, but he'll get out.
Najin Blacksword has just lost all wave control, though, because if Ezreal and Ziggs are in one lane together, they can clear it out.
And Prey gets initiated by Spirit, but Helios showing up will promptly force Spirit to jump onto the Lantern and take a ride with Thresh.
All right, I'm going to explain it now. If they stay in a lane together, mid lane, then they can ult the side lane while Acorn split pushes the third lane. What do you do with the composition that Najin Blacksword has against this? You don't really have options. So they're in a bind right now. And with all the wards coming from Samsung Blue in their own jungle, they're very cognizant of their ability to get picked off. Deft just needs to get a Veil right now. He needs to stop building offensive items and just get a Veil.
Yeah, he's in that sweet spot, of course, a trifecta of items to
honestly,
give him that damage.
Everybody should just get a Veil on Samsung Blue, and it's over. There's nothing that Najin Blacksword will be able to do.
Meanwhile, Acorn doesn't take any damage from Renekton anymore with his build. Happily just sitting there, shoving up the lane. We're at that point where we're going to soon see a fight where Shen is 1v3ing and doesn't lose any health. Deft has to blow a flash, though, to run out of Solar Flare, so we'll see if he goes back and gets a defensive item. Acorn has actually taunted Limit enough to go into a 1v1 duel that he's already losing as Spirit and Heart show up. Heart not afraid to use the box to lock in Limit. They know he's tanky, so they want to keep him down as long as possible. Slice and dice and flash away in time to escape from the repel, but Heart, his mobility boosts, are they going to come in? And Blacksword actually takes this as a time to go for the Baron. Mega Inferno Bomb coming in, gets damage onto Kayn and Helios. There's Deft with the Stand United. Acorn is here, gets the flash dodge onto Nagne. Nagne gets down immediately. Baron is still alive, doing damage to Samsung Blue. Will they just turn around? No, Dade wants more kills. He actually gets the bouncing bomb over the corner of the wall. Prey with no vision of where that was coming in from. Another kill for Samsung Blue, and now it's just a reverse Baron for Samsung Blue as Helios gets stopped on his recall home.
I have to say, Chobra, Samsung Blue should feel lucky that they were far enough ahead to clean up that fight, because the decision to gank a tank with three tanks, gank a tank with three tanks of your own, or two tanks in your support, there was no damage there. That was objectively a terrible call from Samsung Blue, but because they had Shen, and because they had such an advantage, a gold lead in this game, they were able to turn it into a win. But
what's in the rule books for gank a tank, man? You can only gank a tank with your own tank.
Okay.
Got to have those tank wars going on as Blue takes the middle inhibitor with that Baron buff. But yes, I agree. Going for the triple tank gank was a bit silly. And Limit, last time they did clean him up pretty fast thanks to Deft being present, but this time
it was also absolutely the right call for Najin Blacksword if they wanted to get back into this game. That was an extraordinary opportunity that unfortunately they couldn't really capitalize on, and they took a lot of damage from the Baron. Of course, nobody else really that tanky on their team because of Lee Sin's build, and Helios not really having anywhere near as much money as Spirit in this game.
Yeah, and also Acorn with the taunt flash here. Well, as Limit runs away, we'll see
this
when
is just
they port
ridiculous.
in. There's the slice, the dice, the flash, and he gets away. And here we go. Now, Najin getting caught here was pretty big. Acorn with the quick stand united onto whoever was ahead, which was Deft at the time.
And just the amount of damage coming in. Acorn, of course, sailing in on top of Deft as well. So good target calling from Samsung Blue to take out immediately. And Dade just with some nice...
Man, that hurts.
That's a heartbreaker. I bet Prey was face-bombing pretty hard after that. There's really nothing you can do.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't see it coming, but at the same time, good throw by Dade. And yeah, like you said, Dade actually burst down both Prey and Najin early on in that fight, that they had no choice but to run. Even if Acorn didn't get the taunt, I actually think Blacksword would have had to give up on Baron.
Acorn lurking, trying to continue his now Baron-powered split push.
Now with extra Thorn Mail.
100% more Baron, 100% more Thorn Mail.
Yeah, that guy's not dying anytime soon. Pretty sure he can 1v3 and not lose health.
Split push pressure coming in on top of Samsung Blue, and it's like they'll be able to close this one out. Najin Blacksword really not playing a pick composition particularly well this game. They didn't really even try to make picks.
Yeah, and that's not what they've been playing, so that's why...
No, they've been playing team fighting compositions with Twitch where they want to spray and pray 5 people.
So I wonder if they just kind of forgot how to make this work. They were very cautious early on, which was fine, but then they stayed cautious for the rest. They weren't going in deep into enemy territory, and Najin gets hit by Death Sentence. Yeah, Heart's going to come in with the stand united, a massive shield. Najin gets bursted down by Spirit, and Dade's bombs across the wall. Deft just blinking through that tower, taking tower hits for Dade to continue his chase for another kill, as Kane now gets bursted down by Spirit. Eventually goes down to the execute, and Prey doing what he can to stay alive on his own, but he'll get Death Sentence back and limit the only one alive for Najin Blacksword as he gets body blocked by 4 members.
Wow, nice positioning and orb walking from Deft right there to keep himself alive with the lifesteal. Really close fight, but that'll be it. Samsung Blue wins in a very strategic 41-minute bout.
Yeah, very well played by Blue. Gotta give it to him. This is what we talked about. These two teams, so similar in skill level. Najin does look a little bit just blown out of his mind. Just can't figure out why they would have had to lose that game, which they didn't. They didn't have to lose that game.